Looking at a very interesting game today. A game of influence, believe it or not. And this game of influence I am doing for a very good reason. I essentially... what did I do? I have a game on my real board that I'm uploading soon. And it goes over the idea of profit. In particular, the idea that sometimes your profit isn't actually the points you have at the end of the game. Sometimes your profit is just your opponent having to make certain that you're not making a bajillion points throughout the game. So sometimes your profit comes from Sente, because your opponent has to worry over and over and over and over and over again, like how to reduce something, how to make sure that this isn't going to grow. And while they're doing that, they're not really getting a large area for themselves, not really adding to their own point count. So the profit in that respect is essentially it forces your opponent to just like freeze where they are in the game while they have to deal with whatever you're doing. And that's profit as well. That's profit as well. So we're going to go over that today. That is the idea. Alright, I think I've got my board set up properly for this particular one. My favorite profit is when my opponent has to play Gote to secure himself even after I Tanuki. That's profit. That seems like crazy amounts of profit there. Alright. Did I advertise? I didn't advertise, did I? Oops. KJS Teaching Ladder. Lecture starting in the Enclave room under social, open to all. Paste that, and beginner's room, and those are my two advertisements for the day. Alright, so let's go over this game. So everyone knows that Kaji is a really, really great player to pay attention to. Very young player, nice 9-dan nowadays. You usually think of him as a player that bit aggressive, maybe leaning a little bit more towards a territorial style of play. You don't usually think of him as someone who's going to be building up influence, however, going to ruin everything for you right now and tell you that he is going to do that. You're also not going to expect white to be getting influence on a board in which your opponent has laid down the high Chinese. Reason for that is because usually the high Chinese is for one thing and one thing only. It is to kind of build this influential framework. So, theoretically, if you're trying to build this influential framework, you would expect to get influence out of the deal. You wouldn't expect that your opponent, for example, would get it instead. So let's see how that happens. What do we know of the high Chinese Fuseki? How do we reduce this thing? How do we approach it? What do you think? A good move? No, I got it. How about B? B a great move? Is OK an OK move, and is B an even greater move? I don't think I like C15. You want to kind of like shoulder hit the 4/4 stone? Not sure that's a good idea there, Merrick. Ah, C14 approach. Could do. Yeah, I'm not sure if there's an actual term for it. There probably is. But some other ways of handling the high Chinese is to still approach the outside as we see here. You can approach the outside much as you would a low Chinese. It's not all that different. Though you might be a little bit more reserved about approaching it low, because although this is technically something that you could do, black's gonna be very, very happy that you're giving him this kind of growth. This is kind of what he wanted to do by playing the high framework in the first place. So if you're going to approach, I'd probably approach high rather than low, because you probably don't want your opponent to grow like that. So, alright, we're going to approach high. The reason why we want to do that is we want to try to force our opponent to taking an enclosure, because if we get an enclosure like so, then we're no longer against the Chinese Fuseki. We're now against an enclosure with an extension, and we can kind of figure out how to reduce that by just like picking up a Go book. Interesting to note that black doesn't play here. Probably because he doesn't want to leave behind things like A and B and C to go along with D. Technically E, I've seen it before, it works. F. All these are potential invasion points you have to be very, very careful with. So black backs off low, makes things a little bit easier to handle in his corner. White backs off as well, suddenly saying that maybe he's going to be the one to pick up influence this game. But I don't know about that. I don't know about that. This is a very, very aggressive Chinese professional player, very young, aggressive Chinese professional player. What are the odds that he's really going to build up influence? To use L16... Shouldn't black pincer? You could pincer that, then you're getting into a very, very difficult fight. The minute you pincer, you're probably not going to get into something like this, though it is certainly possible. You might actually get into something like this, where your opponent's going to attach it to your stone, and then we're going to fight for shape here. This is certainly one possibility. Might see the approach. Even the approach is a little bit difficult to handle, because we want to like split this now. Ideally, we'd want to kind of split, but that seems like it works fairly well for black. We have to be very, very careful in here not to just play basic Joseki, because if we do, then this turns out to be a really, really... Whoops, sorry, Atari first, numbnuts. There we go. Then this turns out to be a pretty reasonable result for white. So instead he backed off. Though some people do pincer. You can experiment with that if you'd like. Maybe you find a variation that you enjoy. Now here, interesting for black, I would be approaching bottom right-hand corner because I don't want my opponent getting an enclosure to go with the extension, even though it's 4-4, not a 3-4. But here, black decides not to do that. Guess he wants to still build up. Difference between an inside approach and an outside approach. An outside has a potential to continue growing a framework, potential to give your opponent a framework as well. Yes, framework battle, exactly. If we approach on the inside, we're just saying, forget all that noise. All we want to do is just kind of keep things broken up and have a bit more territorial kind of game. So, alright. We play here, backs off as well. And now black encloses, which I thought was very interesting. What's the topic of this lecture? The topic, we don't really have one today. I just thought this was a very interesting game where a young Chinese aggressive professional player played a very large, crazy influential game against someone who opened up high Chinese. You don't usually see that very often. So black is trying to make this into a bit of a framework kind of deal. We can use L16 as a bit of an extension so we can see how that's working out. If white goes into the 3-3 right now, it just gives a very large wall, and all those stones are working perfectly together. So what do we do instead? 3-3, as you might have guessed, is probably out of the question for now. So what do we do instead? How should we be approaching here? Probe the upper right. The upper right corner? Okay. Interesting idea. Interesting idea. We could also do things such as... we could take an enclosure if we so wished. C5. You want to kick and pincer. Interesting choice. I think white is on a similar path as you. White decides this game to just go ahead and pincer. Now you can kind of see why. If black wants to simply take e17 for himself and secure the top, it is still open to invasion at A. It's open to reduction at B. And even the 3-3 in such a case is still an option if black takes the triangle point. So if triangle is taken, we can follow up and attack the left-hand side stone. That's kind of nice. We can get a two-space extension at C11 as well. That's also potential. Black says, probably not good to just build up my one area. I need to make certain that white can't build up his own area as well. So he approaches, white backs off. Why does white back off? Because we see this. A lot of people are tempted to play here and give something like this to your opponent. Depending on the variation that you want to choose here as black. Something like this. Problem with here is twofold. One, you are open here, so we're really expecting only something like this for ourselves, and even this is under investigation because this is unfortunately rather unfortunately a problem if we're not careful. Well, you'd throw in first, but you get the idea. And if you do it this way instead, that's a ko. So this is actually a forcing move. This forces a move such as this, which can then be used maybe later on to just like further reduce this area. You have to be very, very careful about building this way. Even if you play in the traditional manner, when you drop down here and allow this to occur, again, you're still undercut here. This is still going to be a forcing, so you're not really building up a very scary area. This is only to tempt crazy people to come in and invade and then just like lose the game or die trying. Nope, there we go. So because we have the move over on the right hand side, white's just taking the territory on the right hand side as well, rather than bet everything on this like rather difficult to hold on to middle that may or may not be worth something. Here he can kind of count his points. He has a pretty good idea what he's getting. Plus, if we get Sente, we can go back and play on the left-hand side. Right? If, for example, let's see, black jumps out here, but if black had continued this variation, for example, then we get to go back and hammer down on C6 and pick up some more profit for ourselves. And if we did want a middle, we could still grow off the bottom from letting this take a base. That's fine. That's a possibility as well. So there's no reason to like be crazy here. Like if you want to actually build up in the center, it doesn't mean you have to pincer here. You can just back off and look for ways to do it later on. Only way that's not going to happen is if black jumps right now. And if that happens, you know, okay, that's fine too. It's alright, black jumps out here. And now white's following because he knows what the more important stone is. Is A or B the weakest group here at the moment? And we know B is in trouble because black has all this influence that he really wants to use effectively. And one good way to get that being used effectively is if we play something different, not H3 clearly, but just like somewhere else. And then maybe we get this stone killed off, or even just capped, and all that influence just coming to bear on the left-hand side of the board. So, alright, jumps out. Could do a 2-space, but we have almost the exact same problem here as before. This can be kept low. It can be capped. We can try and struggle now and get out, but at this point it might be a little bit too late because it's kind of hard to keep our base here nicely intact. So we can see quite easily why both people are jumping out. Trying to get something to work with here. Jumpy, 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 jumpy. And at this point it looks like I'm lying to you horribly, and there's no way that black or white are really going to develop a very large center area. Clearly, I am lying to you people. But let's step back into the realm of the Q player, where black's next move could be to surround your entire corner. Scary, scary, scary stuff. How do you handle this? How do you handle black overplaying and trying to surround your entire corner with a group that has not a single eye point made for itself? You cut B3? No. No, 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 no. Don't B3 first. No, 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 no. If you B3, that's like a scared move. And they're just going to keep coming after you. They're going to smell blood in the water and just like fix everything and be happy. So yeah, go after that large knight. I like it. Cut it, go after large knight. Yup. F5 and then H4. Yes. I used to be black in this case. I used to play this so often, and I thought it was the best thing to play because, like has mentioned in the chat, my opponents just kept backing off. And just like going into the corner, playing that B3 move. Now I got a bunch of influence. I thought it was a great move. But then I went on servers where they fight back, and then suddenly I'm cut here and I don't know what to do at that point. So I then realized, okay, that seems like a problem. And then I saw a couple of games where it was played in not pro games, but like the high dan, the 9-dan undercover pro games, where anyone who tries this usually gets cut and they greatly, greatly regret it. And yeah, you can't really hold on to this. You're now two groups trying to live simultaneously. This is a problem. This is a problem. So we can't just like go in here and live, right? Because we know that this isn't alive as is. There's a lot of ways to poke this. Okay, now that is a stat that I'm willing to look up right now. Is that actually true? Is he actually undefeated as white right now? I actually have his games list open right now, so I'm willing to stop for a second and see if something that ridiculous is actually true. It wouldn't surprise me. He believes Comey is too large? Really? Really, 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 really? Huh. I had not heard this. I'm jealous. Where do you guys hear these things? I am very curious now. Let's see. White wins when he's white. Wow. No, he is not undefeated this year. On September 29th, he did lose... No, sorry, when he's white. My bad. This stat looks like it's true. Oh my god, he's undefeated as white this year. Are you joking? No, he did lose. He did lose. Okay, yeah, this one's true. In July. In July, he did lose the game as white. But yeah, he hasn't lost many. He wins almost every time he's white. Yeah, almost every game. Interesting. I'll go back and look at that some more later. That's interesting. I was not aware of that. Cool. Very cool. So yeah, rather than playing the aggressive... The white knight. Rather than playing the aggressive large knight that gets you completely cut to pieces... Keji's over 2,000 games on Taijum? Wish I knew what his account... Dude, if you know what his account is, totally all ears. So yeah, instead Black plays the small knight rather than the large knight here, because he doesn't want to be cut to pieces. But he didn't get the memo that he's playing a very, very aggressive player. So, a knight is a knight, man. We poke, and then we threaten. This is a very, very fun threat. You have to be careful, because if you do anything besides just back off, you're in trouble. Black plays the Hane, and white says we're fighting. Because you're not alive yet. And if you're not alive yet, then I can fight you. If I just back off, then I'm losing out here. Because now your entire corner's got like... it's out, it's surrounding. Can't allow it to happen. Black wants to fight here, then he has to fight. So Black says, I'm Atari. White says, that's fine. Our goal is just to separate you, remember. Basic idea, try to separate the two groups. Thank you. I'll look at that later. Alright, so connection here. Black has to decide what to do. Well, sadly, he doesn't have Sente to do such things, because we have to kill off the two stones. Which means white gets to surround. And now you're starting to see how white starts to get a very, very large area for himself, or at least a bit more in the middle. So rather than push, like a lot of people try to do, Black threatens. Threatens a cut. Gotta protect. Now we can go in and get shape. But this is irrelevant. We know where our opponent's going to live, so forget it. And plays to keep him completely locked down on the bottom of the board. Black tries to come out. White seeing to his stones. Seeing to his corner, enlarging that right-hand side very, very much. Look at that. That's starting to become a lot of points. But still not too many. It's still not too many, because our opponent has, you know, territory on the bottom. He's got an enclosure, ×2, extensions. I'd probably still feel inclined to bet on Black rather than white so far. And Black's like, you know what, I'm ahead territorially. I'm just going to defend myself. Yeah, it's Gote. Black's alive. So just going to defend myself. That center isn't really a center just yet. Don't forget, it's got holes in it. So now we need to figure out how we're going to develop. Because like one move ain't going to do it. We can't just be like, bam, center's ours. Because there's holes all over the place, right? If we're going to make something, we need to figure out if we have any Aji anywhere to make anything. So he starts off in the corner. How much Aji is in the corner? Black says lots of Aji in the corner. But you can see White's true aim here. He's getting a few forcing moves on the outside. So we play here, force Black to defend. He comes down because of the left-hand side stones. This is probably where every Taijin player that you've ever played would just drop what they're doing and invade you. But Black is not such a player. He's going to look after himself first. And not in Gote. Or not a small move, like just taking the corner again. He's trying to enlarge what he has while he's defending himself. Lean on it because we're building another wall. You can see how this influence is developing. It's kind of crazy that it's developed from the corner. From, can I live in your corner? No. Okay. Then how about you give me the entire middle of the board? It's a little bit crazy that that is what is occurring here. But alright. As we can see here, making the table, threatening to connect on up. White defends himself, Black connects on up. Now he's got a lot of territory. This should be a game for Black still, I would think. Because the middle shouldn't be worth that much. And Black certainly seems to have a ton of territory. So, still not entirely sure. Pokes at how he's dead. Black says, you're dead this way. Now, we could continue and kill off the corner. But then we can attack the top as well. Right? Because we can throw in. I think everyone knows that Black's first move kills here. But Black says, you know what, that middle is getting a bit big. I'm going to play here instead. It's time to start getting out there. And you can play a Gote move, C19, and live if you'd like. But I'm not going to go ahead and play this variation for you. And then just give you Sente to like attack the left-hand group now that it's actually hard to capture your stones. So still, we're looking for ways to build up the middle. This one's an interesting one, though. This one's really interesting. Because if Black defends, then maybe we can even keep developing that center bit. Instead, Black's respecting this wall and choosing to come out and reduce it. Not getting surrounded. Looks like center strategy is in trouble. Got to poke out and then connect up. Got to poke out and then connect up. The question now is what we do with a big one. Question now is what do we do? We have all these stones in the center. Gave up right side territory to Black, or left side territory to Black, sorry. Top territory to Black. The upper left corner could go to Black as well. So we have to use everything we've built so far. Is there Aji anywhere to actually use, though? Is there anything that we can do there? Attach the corner? Attaching's correct. But attaching here first to see if there's Aji. Black has to connect nice and solid. Not get too greedy, otherwise this is a bit tricky. If we play here, then our stones might get ripped. And that would be a problem. We would not be happy with this situation in any way. So alright. Leave no Aji behind. That means this is our investment. Alright, Black. Your mission, should you choose to accept it, assuming you wish to win the game, is to reduce the middle. Reduce that middle. Sounds easy. Now, usually when you're reducing that middle, there are things that we want to try and... there are things that we probably want to try to be aware of. One of those things is sector lines. We don't want to go too deep. Don't want to go too deep, because if we go too deep, we might be in a little bit of trouble. Right? If we go too deep, then we're going to get surrounded. If we get surrounded, then we might die. So we look at the sector this sad state of affairs is the sector line right now. If we go deeper than this, we can be surrounded. So alright. Black first says... I'm going to go just at the outer edge and see what happens. And White has to realize, that he can't go into defensive mode. Defensive mode might kill you. If we said, okay, this is my territory, then Black might say, I get to attack and ruin everything that you held dear. Might attack these stones. Now, this is something we usually tell people not to do. Do not attach to the stone you are trying to fight. But here it's a little bit different, because if Black backs off, that's still big. And if White comes in, or if Black comes in, someone comes in, this is still pretty big. So Black says, no, I'm gonna be nice and strong here. White says, can I surround you? Black says, nope. Nope, 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 nope. I want to be nice and strong here. Then White says, okay, I'm going to take all of this for myself. Calmly going to reduce the center a bit. Don't give up the stone, it's huge. Lose all the cut points if you do. Now the next move I absolutely love. Because what is one thing everyone would love to do right now as White? What would we love to do right now as White? We would love to kill, we'd love to enclose, but we can't do that in Gote, right? We can't do it just cutting 014. We can't do it just threatening something like 015, because the group that knows it's in danger will immediately try to defend itself. So we need to be a bit sneaky. We need to be ninja. And ninja say, I kill you. Corner must defend itself. So, corner defends itself. White says, I enclose you. But that's too bad. We can't respond to that. Yeah, we're gonna be enclosed. Yes, Merrick, 9p. Congratulations. So we don't want the corner completely enclosed, but we don't have a choice. If we responded here again, That's a really good shape. That's an amazing shape. So we have to defend. And that right there is beginning to eat up some of Black's not potential. Profit. There we go. Knew it began with a P. It's beginning to eat up some of Black's profit, because now this is no longer all connected and making a huge area as we saw like a few moves ago. Like right now, it was like, oh, it's so tempting to start counting this as territory that Black might have, and like the corner, we don't really have really good endgame against there because we don't have any stones nearby. But we're slowly eating into some of Black's profit because he's too busy trying not to die in our middle. So alright, there we go with that. Take some more for ourselves. We can't cut because I think everyone can see why we can't cut at 016. It's not something we need to defend. If we try to cut, then we laugh really, really hard because we just cut off the stones again. So alright, Black wants to come in. White says no. Black's threatening. He's a 9-dan professional. He's not taking this, like, build the influence crap lying down. He has goals. Apparently White doesn't care. It's like, I'm going to strengthen myself, and then I'm going to try to kill you. Time to come out. Getting reduced. Fixing shape. I like that fixing shape, too. If your shape's not fixed, then you've got no odds against this group later. And look at all of these stones right now that aren't really doing anything. Like this huge string of black stones has one goal and one goal only. Reduce white. And white's goal is to start reducing the profit as a result. Like we're managing to like enclose this group. We now have a fight going for some stones. So black is kind of frozen, like I mentioned at the beginning of the game. He can't really take time out to try to build up his own territory some more. All he's really trying to do is just be very, very careful and reduce everything. Why doesn't cut work right now? This cut? Yeah, the thing there, right? Now we've got Miai for death. We can be like, I kill you! And then he'll be like, I kill you too! And then we're in trouble. Actually, maybe not that one. Does that one work? I just like play that randomly. Does that actually work? Yeah, right? No. Holy crap. Bad reading. So we play here then? I'm supposed to do like the Atari shenanigans and then ew, yuck, disgusting. I guess that works. Aw, I really wanted that fancy one to work. Oh, too bad it doesn't. No, fancy. I like fancy. I like being fancy. Wait, maybe it does work. What if we go here instead? Take, then the Atari. Ooh, that's fancy. That's fancy. That's code for the entire game, actually. That is code for the entire game. And you know black can find threats. That's a threat. That's a threat because... Click it. Click it. Things like this are a threat because of throw-in to remove to remove all eyes. So yeah, gotta be careful there. Gotta be careful. So alright, got a cut there. Atari, poke. Connect. poke. Black connects. We extend. Picking up some profit. Picking up some points. And is black doing that? No. Black is still just trying to reduce the middle. White's setting up another attack. And black, all he can do is make sure that he's completely fine in that center. So this is kind of what I meant about profit. That center bit isn't really amounting to a whole lot. That whole point about the center is never worth very much territory, so you want to go for corners, sides, and then center, because the center is usually not going to be worth very much. This is kind of one of the reasons why we see it. But the center not being worth very much is paying off huge dividends to white right now. Because how many stones is black having to like throw in there to make sure that he's actually got this area reduced? And while he's doing that, white's making himself stronger and is taking more points. Like, there's a fight going on over here now. Defense. Looks like we're living. But you can see what's going on here. There's now a cut point. This is turning a bit risky now, because this group of blacks, little bit sketchy. Attack, does that actually work? No, because we can bamboo off, so we're fine. So white keeps poking. This isn't alive yet. Not now, it would be. There we go. Not alive yet. More profit in the center. Black being forced to kill off things that should have already been dead. Threatening to force him to have to actually kill off every one of those points. Or one of those stones, rather. There we go. Connect so no ko. So not only did white manage to get into this, but he's also picking up points while he's going along his merry little way. And he's able to do that because black's been totally he's been totally busy just trying to reduce this huge area of white's. White's not getting very many points in the middle, and in fact, most of the territory that he had is actually coming from the sides, and the corner. The middle's not really worth very much. So you might think, why ever would you want to play an influential game when the middle is just not going to play very much? And this is kind of the reason. All of those stones that your opponent has to waste in the middle while he's not doing anything else, not taking any new points of territory, he's probably getting reduced elsewhere as a result, while he just tries to live in that center. That's profit as well. That also is profit. It's just that amateurs tend to screw that up and try to hold on to that big middle and just like fight to the death to try to protect it. If the middle goes, oops, I ran you everywhere, I guess I'm just going to resign now. And, you know, game over. But pros have a different take on that. Pros seem to have a different take. Poking the corner. Corner will be fine. Corner will be fine. Nice connection. Can't drop down or we cut. Potential 2 stones. Must live, must live, must live. Poking so we can set up a table shape. Now we're connected. Now we're connected. Now we're not connected. But that's okay. Still can't kill, still can't, not really worried about living right now. Black is, though. Black's a bit worried. Threatening to make a larger area for himself. The white stops. Then he goes and drops down. Probes Black's response. Black responds correctly. Because this isn't really... This is a bit of a problem, right? Back in here. Slight issue, slight issue. So it goes to Ko, probably. At best, it has to go to Ko, otherwise you're in trouble. I think. I think I have that correct. Because we can't give up that stone, right? So we have to answer that stone. And if we answer here, seems like we're horribly dead. If we answer here, there's that cut. I mean, we can play here, but it's not going to matter because S17 has to be connected. Yeah, so this has to go to here, right? So that's the thing. But for now, white goes here, forces take, plays this, and then black resigns. Now, why does black resign? Well, for starters, there's a slight problem in the upper right-hand part of the board. For another, yeah, black also doesn't have any endgame. That's true. And even with all of that, white is still not bad off. Not bad at all. The right is still worth a fair number of points. The right's still pretty big. The top grew as well. P18 can be taken later on. So he is just completely overwhelmed. White went for this huge middle focus strategy. It got reduced all over the place, but he wasn't trying to hold on to it. I mean, you have to threaten your opponent, obviously, as we saw with moves like this. You can't just, like, let him go back there. But he has to pay for the privilege of reducing you. And that's what we were seeing here over and over and over again. I like how B's high Chinese went to go. Yeah, that's funny. So I think this game was played after... Am I right about this? I want to get the order of these games correct. 1 second. Okay, so Control F. Yes, this game was played directly. Yes, directly after. Directly after Keji beat the pants off of Yi Sedol for the Samsung Cup. Then he played this game where he played like this hugely influential style. I like that he's playing differently and still trying things despite being like a 9 down. He's not just developing a solid style, as you can clearly see here. So who knows what we're going to see out of this guy in the future. Sadly, in the interest of complete disclosure, he did lose his last game. Keji did. Lost against a Korean 9-dan professional. It's also pretty strong. But that's okay. He's won most of his games. Go for Go says he has almost a 70% win ratio, which is very, very impressive. He's won almost all of his games this year. Yeah, his reading is just amazing. Means he isn't playing in the right ranks. Need to develop a new one. Well, what other rank is he going to play against? I mean, he took out Yi Sedol. Is there anyone top player he hasn't played? He's sandbagging. Love to know what his account is on TieGem, if he has one. That would be amazing to watch. I love watching those games. In the meantime, thanks everyone for stopping by, both the stream and the lecture. I will of course see you guys next week. Until then, good luck in your games, and I will see you guys later. Take care, everyone.